What if I told you that it's possible to come out of a myofunctional therapy course without feeling like you have no idea what you're doing or how to get started? That's what we're going to dive into today in our lecture. Now, this is a recording because I don't know, live stream disappeared somewhere, but I want to welcome you anyway. Okay. So, technical difficulties aside, I'm your Myo best friend, Carice Laguerre. I am here almost every week to share with you more of my knowledge, my education, because I think it's incredibly important that we start to establish standards of excellence in this field, particularly for my dental colleagues, but for everyone. We should all be our very best selves. Okay. So if you're watching this on YouTube or watching it on LinkedIn, subscribe. Let's keep this going. Connect with me on LinkedIn, turn on your notifications. That way you never miss a live. It's incredibly uh, purposeful that we are sharing. And so the more that we're sharing, the more people who can get help, the more professionals we have practicing with excellence, the more people we have who are actually achieving the outcomes that they desire. All right. So this might be familiar. When I did my very first myofunctional therapy course, I was flabbergasted, absolutely flabbergasted at the wealth of information. And in all of this information, I took with me a 5 subject notebook to the course. And in taking this 5 subject notebook, let me tell you guys, okay, that, oh man, I had so many notes and no idea what to do with all of the information, like how to really put this together. Part of it was kind of cookie cutter, and I knew I didn't want to necessarily do that. And then I got more information from other things, but it's overwhelming. So I get it. I've been there. I've experienced this myself. I know exactly where you may be. The problem is that I took a course 8 years ago. I took a course back when, there were only 2 options. That was it, 2 options. Now it is 10 times that and over. Okay. So 10 times that is over 20 courses that are available from different institutions, organizations, and individuals that are teaching. So why do we still have this problem? We shouldn't still have this problem. You would figure that the field would only get better. If we have 20 times the courses, that should mean we are doing 20 times better. And in fact, we are not. There's no more information that is leading people to a better choice. We still have these same 2 methods of people discovering courses. They will go online and post something absolutely ridiculous, like, hey, what courses should I take? Or they'll go on Google and they'll just start searching, and whatever course pops up, oh, maybe that's the one for me. But I'll tell you, you're never going to find a faster path to being this confused person than by doing that nonsense. Okay. So you will always find me in the comments of these sections saying things like, please stop asking a group of people that don't know you, that are not invested in you and your success. They don't have any clue how related their experiences are to what you are desiring as your outcome. Okay. So they may have left their course feeling very confused. They may have taken 3 or 4 courses. They may have only taken 1 course. And because they like that 1 course, they think that that's the best course out there, but they have no objective view as to, yes, this is the way that it should be. Their subjective experience made them feel good, but that might not be what you want out of a course. They may have taken a course where they talk about starting an independent business and talk about being a practitioner outside of a dental office. But you might be taking a course specifically to work within a dental office, and then you leave asking questions and recommend that same course to others, and you have no idea what they want to do with it. So it is a cycle of confusion that needs to stop happening. What you need to do is reflect internally. So before you even pick a course, if you are thinking about taking a course and you're watching this as somebody who's like, oh man, I really need to pick the best course. Well, here's my best advice. Okay. I have entire videos about this. I think you really need to reflect inwards and ask yourself the important questions. What exactly do you plan on doing with this information? What is this information going to do for you and your career, you and your practice, you and your family? How is this going to impact you? Okay. Make sure you're asking yourself the important questions so that you don't wind up being confused. However, if you are the person who has come out of a course and you didn't know any better, and so you may have led other people astray, that's fine. If you have friends who are looking to get into the industry, if you know people, you have colleagues or people have asked, like, oh, you've taken a course, what was your experience? Da, 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 da. Well, tell your friends to get with my friends and we could be friends. If you don't know where that came from, you're not my people. But I think you're all my people. Okay. I love you all. I will just say that, we have to start connecting people to their inner experience, and they need to identify what they most want out of it, because we're going to lead people down a wrong path by just telling them to take a course. Because I had a really interesting conversation yesterday with somebody who's perspective, who wants to get into the field, and they found my content helpful. And particularly, one of the big questions that they had is, what is my experience with having people complete the program? Because as a former instructor of piano, so they were a piano teacher, as a former instructor of piano, they found that most people don't practice piano. So they would be teaching and then like there's making no progress. And they don't want to be in that same position in Myo. Like, I'm not just going to be out here teaching people exercises and they're not doing it, right? Like, what's the compliance rate? Now, for me, I have a high compliance rate. Okay. If I really had to quantify it, I'd say that 80% of the cases, if not a little more than that, are cases we actually finish. Mostly because I'm very blunt and very forthcoming. I will say on a consultation every single time, I don't want your money. I don't want your time. You don't have to invest in this. It will be a waste of time and a waste of money if you invest in this and don't follow through. And there are people who will not work with me based on that alone. The level of accountability that I am asking in just being that forthcoming, that like, don't give me your money if you're not going to do this, is really a high demand for some people. And so, okay, I'm not working with people who are not meant to work with me. That's fabulous. There's nothing more I could ask for than to be working with the ideal group of clientele who will work a program, right? So, from my experience, as long as you are forthcoming, you can get really great compliance with Myo. I've been practicing, I practice full time. I am not part time in hygiene and doing this, that, and the next thing. Like, no, I do full time myofunctional therapy in 2 states. I think that's another thing you have to think about too. It's like, who are you taking advice from? Are you taking advice from people who you aspire to be like? Do you want to do Myo full time? If you want to do Myo full time, follow. I have got a list of people you could follow, all of my friends who really do practice this and practice it as their only source of income. Then there's a group of people who, if you're looking to just kind of supplement your hygiene, because that's what I thought going into it. One, I really want to help my children. But two, I'm never leaving hygiene. I love hygiene. Why would I leave hygiene? So I just want to do this part-time. It's just like a great way to like have something a little extra. It turned out that I had other goals. Once I really started seeing the change and really started practicing this more, it became my primary passion. It took over the passion that I had for doing hygiene. But if that's something that you think is you really want to stay in hygiene, then you need to be talking to people who do hygiene and Myo and are content in that space, because they're going to give you the best advice as to like what worked for them, what's the best route to go with all of this. Okay. So get with the people you're supposed to be with, but also reflect internally. Okay. So for those of you who might be listening and feel like, oh man, I just messed up. I didn't take the right step. Like, don't be down on yourself. This is not a time for that. We're not doing that today. We are going to have fun. We're going to have so much fun because we are going to define the best way for you to get the most out of that course you invested in. Okay. This is for you because, my friend, you did that. Okay. You made the most of a situation that could have just been a limiting belief. You were an overcomer. You've overcome what people say you shouldn't be doing, what people think you won't be any good at. You've overcome the idea that you can be nothing more than a hygienist, a speech language pathologist, a whatever. You've achieved a new certification that honestly less than 1% of the population even has a remote knowledge of, much less the same education as you in this topic. Okay. You did that. You are that person. So, my friend, my very best friend, use this lecture as an opportunity to leverage everything that you've learned and make the most of it. Okay. Don't be down on yourself. We don't do that here. This is not a space for that. Okay. Awesome. All right. Here's what you're going to need. You need a pen. You need a paper. You need somewhere to take notes. Okay. And when you're taking the notes, I need you to, really like implement. Don't just take notes like I did in my first course and then look at them afterwards and be like, I don't know. I don't know what to do. I'm going to give you the 5 steps, the things that you need to do. So, paper, go get it. Let's go. Or if you're more digital, like just put it in your notes app. Just write down some stuff. Okay. Step 1. Who do you serve? Who do you serve? We are in the act of service. As therapists, we are serving others. We are helping others to achieve their goals. We are helping others to overcome. We are also benefiting from that. Yes. So ideally, you're practicing profitably. You're not running a charity. If you are running a charity, then hopefully you're still able to pay your bills and run this charity concurrently. However, for those of us who are also, receiving a benefit from the service, the joy of serving others and seeing them achieve their goals, but also the ability to pay our bills, we have a duty to clearly define how we're servicing them and who we're servicing. Okay. So step 1 is going to be like who you're serving. If you haven't figured this part out yet, this is your time. This is your moment. Who are you serving? Are you just working with TMD, temporomandibular joint disorders? Are you just working with obstructive sleep apnea? Maybe you only want to work with kids. You look around and you're like, oh my gosh, there's so many kids in my kids' preschool that need this. I want to work with the preschoolers. I'm going to save all the under 5s. I'm going to save them. Great. I love that for you. I want that for you. If you want to work with just teenagers and you want to service the biggest population that we've got in orthodontics, like these teenagers who are, middle school, high school, like you want to work with them and help all the ortho kids, you can do that. You are not to serve everybody. If you want to serve everybody and work with all the populations, do so. But let me tell you, as your big sister in experience, that will tire you out. You will become exhausted. You will have a certain population that you love and that you adore working with and that you really want to lean more into. So if you want to start out serving everyone, sure, it's going to be very difficult as your first step to serve everyone. So niche down. That way you have a specific target audience. And then from there, you can determine how it is you can reach that target audience. If you're working in a dental practice, are you already working with that population? Like if you just have a preschooler, but you work in a general dentistry practice, and so you don't really see preschoolers, it's probably not going to be in your practice, right? It might just be in your community. And if it's just in your community, that's okay. You can reach all the preschools in the community. Let's say you work in a general dentistry practice and you want to work with temporomandibular joint disorders, and the nearest provider is not necessarily in your community, but they're like 30 minutes, 45, an hour away, but they're relatively in your area. Is that how you can reach your audience? Is your audience all traveling out to see this specialist? Great. You know where you need to be. Or there are plenty of providers. I say plenty, but there's probably literally like a handful, if not maybe several, virtual only practices that are very, very successful. You can serve people just on the internet with a virtual only practice. Is that where your audience is? Are you looking to work specifically with a certain population? Do you only want to work with people who are on a CPAP? You can work with people who are on a CPAP. You can work with all of those people by sourcing them from CPAP influencers and, whatever. Like, you can bring and attract that audience along the use of the internet. But like, where can you reach them? If it's in your practice, how can you formulate your talk? I need you practicing that. Like, if your target audience is coming to see you every day, you need to start talking to them about these things. There's nothing you can do about it yet, but you can educate them maybe. So you're not fully ready or prepared, but you can start to have the conversation. And the more you refine your conversations, the better off you'll be. Please. In your community, there might be a community fair. There might be a community gathering. You might be able to get a booth at the next event. So at the time of this recording, the next big event might be Halloween. And so maybe there's an event in your town. Perhaps there's a 4th of July big event, and getting a table there is $750. And so you're like, okay, I'm going to make sure that I have everything ready so that I can have that table. And I can speak to all the moms of preschoolers who might be at this big 4th of July community event. Like, where can you reach them? So you have to have who you're speaking to. That way you can create a list of where they are, what they're doing, who they're working with, who are their providers, who are really servicing this population. The functional medicine physician or the naturopathic physician, I don't want you to sleep on those. People be sleeping on these providers, and these providers are already more holistic leaning. They like to have alternatives to refer to. I met a pediatric functional physician, and let me tell you, a functional pediatrician, if everybody does not have one, if you're not working with kids, don't have one, right? You just want a general physician. But if you are wanting kids, a functional pediatrician is the best person. There's so many people who are looking for alternatives, who might have like the anti-vax model or whatever, and they have their own physicians. They are people who are looking for alternatives. These will be the people who will invest first and without hesitation and won't ask you for not one bit of insurance because they understand what it is that you do best. They understand that the body has multiple ways of healing that don't all deal with traditional medicine or traditional dentistry. And so they are much more inclined to myofunctional therapy. So don't sleep on that. Utilize these resources. Who's working with your population? Write it down. We're going to get into networking, okay? Because that's step 2, putting together your team, your referral providers. Does everybody need referral providers? No, but you're not going to be very successful. Can you build a following? Can you build an audience just off of social media alone? Yes, there are wonderful con artists who do it every single day, who you might think are really, really exceptional in the field, and they're really not. They're not exceptional in the field. They're just exceptional with their marketing. And so with that being said, you can do a lot of things by just being on the internet, but you do need to have providers to send your clients to, because it's never just one thing. Even about the TMJ, like the TMJ specialist, may have some really good orthotics, and the orthotics are fabulous. I love a good orthotic. I'm always telling people if they have TMD, have you stabilized your bite? I need you to stabilize your bite first. That's the structure that I don't control. I don't control what is your best physiological occlusion. Like, I can't put together your teeth for you. I can do all the soft tissues around there that might be overdeveloped, that might be compensating, that might be firing on 10, and you need it to really be down to a 2. I can help you with that. The TMJ specialist like only sees from their lens. And so it's your duty to help not only your clients, but the specialist to see that there's other things outside of their lens. Okay. So you identified in step 1 who you want to work with, but like, where do they hang out? What do they read? Are there particular magazines? Are there blogs? Are there, there's a lot of different features. So like, I'm in South Florida. I'm near West Palm Beach, but like areas like Boca Raton, like that is not very far from me. So Boca Raton has its own like mommy feature blog thing or whatever. If I'm working with children, maybe I want to be featured in this blog, this mommy blog thing, and I want to be talking about the myofunctional therapy that I do in South Florida. And that's a great way to reach the moms in the area if I want to work with kids. If I want to work with TMJ, is there a specialist? Is there a thing that is being read by people who have oral facial pain? Should I be communicating with oral facial pain specialists in the area? Like, where can I find the influencers in the space? So that's the media influencers, that's the social media influencers, big difference, media, like print, magazine, newspaper, that type of stuff, online, blogs, articles, yada, yada, or television. How can I contact a producer for a local channel or a local access network? How can I get featured on a specific thing that I know my target audience is watching? Or social media, where how can I connect and collaborate with social media influencers who are in the space, a holistic mommy who is reaching a network that is much broader than my own and can spread the message, they spread the good word of Myo, right? Like, how are we going to reach them? Okay. And then what do you need to learn? So it is never lost on me that I don't know everything. And I think it's important that you also are aware that you don't know everything either. And in not knowing everything, I think it's incredibly important that we really hone in on learning more about others. So if I don't know enough about an orthotic, what it does, and what they believe it does with the soft tissues, then I need to talk to a TMJ specialist, and I need to lead with curiosity. Hey, I'm a myofunctional therapist and I don't know enough about orthotics. I have clients that are in orthotics. I don't know if they're in the right device for them, how to distinguish if they're in their right bite, what to speak to them about when it comes to orthotics. I would love to connect with you so that we can have a conversation. I can better guide them. And there are some clients I have who I keep telling them they need to deal with their bites first. They need to get into a functional occlusion. And so I need to send them to someone. And I would love to learn more about you and what it is you do. Maybe you could be that person. Um, I just don't know enough. And I'm coming to you out of a space of, vulnerability. I'm willing to tell you I don't know enough. And, hopefully you're willing to share. I've never met a myofunctional therapist who doesn't like to talk about myofunctional therapy. I don't assume that other people don't like to talk about their profession. So, especially if you're building a bridge, okay, you have to let them know what's in it for them. And if that bridge is I'm sending you referrals, or that bridge is I really just want to know how I can best service you, they're more likely to listen. Think about the preschoolers if that's your target audience. Why would a preschool owner or whatever want to have you in their preschool or talking to their parents or distribute materials for you or refer you? Why? Well, if I'm thinking about it and I'm really sitting down and I'm like honing in on what it might be, these kids get sick a lot. And these sick kids, they don't just keep it to themselves. It's not just like, oh, yeah, the kids are running around with runny noses and the adults are wonderfully immune. No, they give these illnesses to the parents, to the caretakers, to the teachers. They give and spread wonderfully. They share like no other. Okay, all these germs and whatever. The kid who's drooling all over everything, and the other kid that's touching it, and then they're putting their hands in their mouth, and then we've got like hand, foot, mouth disease, and everybody's sick, or somebody has a fever, and like it's chaos. It's absolute chaos. I want to make your life easier as a preschool teacher. I work with myofunctional therapy to eliminate the mouth breathing, to help relieve congestion, to teach these parents nasal hygiene, to help them establish better habits that can lead to a future of them not being as congested, to not having as much to be able to bring to this ecosystem of nastiness that you work in. I probably wouldn't say that, but they don't want that. They don't want that to continue. So I would be more inclined to have you in and to maybe distribute your card or to talk about myofunctional therapy with some of the parents to be like, wow, this might help. That way they're not losing money. The parents would love this too. They're losing so much money. The kid can't be in daycare for a whole week, but we still got to pay for that week. Like, this is not the system that I want to keep perpetuating. I want to make sure that I'm getting my money's worth in all aspects of life. Outside of that, I want my kid to be healthy. And so if this is a method to get to that, yay. So that's building a wonderful bridge that helps the teachers, it helps the caretakers to be more present at their job, to be able to run a facility that they can say is safer than other ones or less prone to illness than others. And that might be a way for them to build their competitive advantage. It's a great way for you to build a bridge. That was a good example. Okay. So just think about what's in it for them. You're more likely to catch more flies with honey. Okay. Don't go in and just offer blind lunch and learns. I think blind lunch and learns are kind of ridiculous. I know I have great friends who are amazing people who sell lunch and learn slides. Sure, buy one for somebody who wants a generic, what is myofunctional therapy? But it's boring, it's blanket. And if you're a blanket person, you're not on your road to excellence. Okay. I think everybody wants to know different things, different topics. So some people, I've had people who I've asked, like, what do you want to learn? What do you want to know at the end of a lunch and learn? And it's something I didn't expect. Like, I don't need to know what myofunctional therapy is. I think I have a grasp on that. I just need to know how to work with you. Right. I can put together a 45-minute lecture on how to work with me, what my system looks like, what's my pricing, what's the best way for you to refer, what are the resources that people are going to find when they get on my website. Like, there's a wealth of information I can give you about that. And that's going to take us so much farther than me coming in and talking to you about a blanket, like, what is myofunctional therapy? You didn't need that. You didn't care about that. Your question at the end of that is still, how do you work with me? And I won't be able to give you enough information in the 2 minutes that I might have to answer that question. Like, I think do lunch and learns only when you know how to leverage them. Outside of that, you're making friends. You're making a good set of friends. And so start with the gatekeepers, because those are the people at the front. They've got the access to the back. Okay. Your administrative staff and team, once you go in, bring them treats, treat them nicely, get to know them, ask their name, tell them a little bit about you and how much you would love to come back, and just talk to them first about myofunctional therapy. And if they're willing, then talk to the doctor about it. But meet in person in some way, shape, or form. If you're trying to build a virtual only practice, that's okay. You can build and network by just having like a Zoom online, and that's the best way. Okay. So, like, you'll figure that out. Okay. Step 3, build your confidence, build and grow your confidence. You've got to start putting it into practice. I know it's annoying. It's so annoying. People will always be like, oh, you just start doing myofunctional therapy. Like, that's how you get confident. Start doing it. Okay. Thank you for that wonderful advice. That was so useless. I don't need that. That's not the advice I'm seeking, right? But what I will tell you is that you do need to actually get in there and get started and get it going. But you could start on a lighter note. So start with some really easy, straightforward cases or some cases where you can get all the feedback in the world. So if you have a spouse or a partner, if you have a child and you're trying to describe things and your kid just isn't getting it, well, what do you think stranger kids are going to have issues with how you're describing your exercises, right? So I think it's important that you are working on it in some way, shape, or form. That's how you build your testimonials. You need to start working with loved ones, with friends, with family members who are a safe space for you. Okay. I think it's important that if you are networking and you are asked, you're like, hey, okay, let's just say I'm a TMJ specialist, and I say, oh man, I would really love to learn more about how this myo can work with an orthotic. My wife is in an orthotic, and I really would like her to be able to try some of the myofunctional therapy. Are you down for a little bit of just reciprocity? I'm happy if you need an orthotic, or if you have a spouse or a loved one, I would happily treat them at no cost. If you could work with my wife, I would love to see how this works. I like a good bartering. I really don't mind that, honestly. And I think I've said it before on another live. Like, I live in South Florida, and so everything gets dirty, and we have HOAs, and like they want everything to be spotless and sparkly clean. And like, if you do power washing and you could come power wash my roof and my driveway and the walkway, and like you could do all the power washing for the side of the house or whatever, and you'll come back and you'll do that, quarterly for me in exchange for some myo, I'm down. So I don't understand why other people are very resistant to like working with a potential collaborative provider to get them to understand, because you'll appreciate that more once you're starting to work with manual therapists. Like, you should get on their table and allow them to service you. You'll know what it feels like, and you'll get that release and that relief, and you'll be able to communicate that better. So you can work for some collaborative learning. Join or begin a local study club. Great way for you to get started. You could start communicating and talking about it and getting those referrals. That way you can build your confidence in speaking about it and in doing it. Okay. And follow those who you aspire to be. Like I said before, if you have somebody who is a myofunctional therapist full time and that's what you aspire to be, follow them. Follow them. There's nothing wrong with that, because you are who you associate yourself with. Okay. So you see the overripe banana, and overripe banana, when it sits there with the other fruit is going to get not so great, right? Because you're around that. And so that's what you're going to become. People love to talk about themselves. Allow people to talk about themselves. That's the best part of a consultation for me, is hearing people's stories. I have a whole live stream about consultations, lunch and learns, like all that stuff. But people love to talk about themselves. So let them talk, let them disseminate all this information, and then take your time to process it. When you take your time to process it, you're learning more about who you can service. What are their pain points? They're telling you this. They tell you what they're struggling with. It has nothing to do. Nobody's ever bought myofunctional therapy because they really care about their tongue posture. You could go on YouTube for that. Like, I'm not that invested in my tongue posture, but what I am invested in is my quality of sleep, my ability to be productive, my ability to fight off dementia or Alzheimer's, my ability to digest better. to not have indigestion and leaky gut. Like, that's what I care about. These are your pain points. Speak to the pain points. But you have to be a person willing to listen, to hear the pain points and to hear where people are. Okay. Step 4, you've practiced. You started to build up some of your confidence. You know who you're talking to, how you're talking to them, who they work with, and where your referrals are coming from. What's your program like? What is your program like? How does it work? Here's how my process works. I have a consultation. It is complimentary. I have debated for many times back and forth whether or not I should do a paid consultation. I don't care to do a paid consultation until there are enough people that understand what I do, that I don't have to start the conversation off with, here's what myofunctional therapy is. So I have a free consultation. I'll talk to anybody anywhere about myofunctional therapy at no cost. After that, evaluation, if that's your next best step. If that's your next best step, evaluation is going to give me all the information that I need to develop a personalized treatment plan and program for you. Next step, we implement the program. Like, if you're signing on, you sign on and we go and we work from there. Okay. So it's, I guess, in that way, a 3-step process. What do you want your program to look like? Do you want a paid consultation? Do you want a paid evaluation? Do you want, like, what are you going to do? Are there going to be multiple steps? If you plan on working in a dental office, it typically works a little differently. You can't necessarily have that consult. You have essentially, you in your hygiene role or in the dental operatory, they have a visit. We can start to discuss myofunctional therapy and where your needs may be. I may have done a little assessment as a hygienist in that chair, being able to see and determine, like, the vaulted palate, the scalloped tongue, the tori that might be in the way, the tethered oral tissues, the mentalis strain, or, the clicking and the popping. Like, I might have heard all of that on the joint. Okay, so we've determined there's crepitus, there's whatever. Like, here's where we're going to go next. I want to do a comprehensive evaluation. So that might have been your consult. Your consult is them just coming in as a dental patient. That's when you get to talk to them about this. And then the next step's evaluation. Like, structure what your program is going to look like and how it's going to work for you. Okay. I think that's incredibly important. And shameless plug, if you pick the right course, there's on-site mentorship where you can do that with your instructor live on-site in person at no additional cost. Why you wouldn't choose that, I don't know, but that might be the best way, because then that person with their professional eye and their professional assessment, who has done it numerous times with numerous practices and seen successful models and models that failed, would be able to give you insights that you would have to pay significantly more to somebody else who doesn't know as much. So I don't know, you might want to get on the right pathway, if you know what I mean. How does your program work? What are the steps? How do they go through it? And how seamlessly can you describe that? That's incredibly important. But what I think more people are going to want to know about are the fees. Like, how am I going to put together my fees? Well, let me tell you what's common before we get into what's best. All right. What's common is typically said to be 1/3 of what orthodontics cost in your area. So for simple math, because math is not my jam, but for simple math, let's say ortho is $3,000, a typical ortho case, the usual, customary, and reasonable rate for orthodontics in your area is $3,000. Myo should be about $1,000. Simple math, just 1/3. Okay. Or your usual, customary, or reasonable fee, for those of you in dentistry, you know that this is a thing, based on speech therapy fees, occupational therapy fees, or just general therapeutic fees in your area. So if speech therapy in your area, a session of a speech therapy, for simple math, is $100, you should probably be around $100 per session for your myofunctional therapy. Does that mean that you can't build a program fee? No, of course not. You would just multiply that by however many visits. And if you want to just like, have it, you could pay per session, or you could pay me by doing, the program fee and just pay all in one shot. And it's got a little bit of a discount on it. Do it however you would like to. It's your business. Don't let anybody else determine your fees except for you. But let me tell you what's better is going by what feels right for you. Okay. So yes, you can determine it off of ortho. I would say I didn't determine my fees off of either of the things that are common, at least not to start. To start, what felt right for me was being at a reduced rate. And so I had like a $75 evaluation and it was like $50 a session. Like that's what felt right for me in my soul. I was able to sleep well at night. And then as I grew, my fees grew. And that's what worked for me. You have to be able to sleep at night. You have to be content with what you're offering and how you are serving others. So if you haven't been able to get into the nitty gritty of like what is out there, then you might want to just go with what feels right for you to be offering. Okay. Step 5. Got to the final step, y'all. I need you to just put it all out there. Okay. So you know what your fees are, you know who you're working with, you know who you're servicing and where they hang out. Now you got to market to them. You built up your confidence. Put it out there. Put it all out there. No, you do not need social media all over the place. I'll tell you, I am the worst person to consult about social media. Social media, I find to be an inconvenience. And I'll tell you that has never brought me an ROI. Like, even when I've had things go viral, you'd be surprised. And I remember having a meeting with some colleagues. I do a mastermind monthly for some myofunctional therapists, and it's absolutely free. If you want to be a part of it, send me an email. I'm hello@themyospot.com. But we met and I was like, this video has had over 3 million views. And it was really for me to sell a $7, like mini Myo email course. So it's $7. That's the investment. 3 million views, more than that. Okay. What do you think I got as like people buying in to the $7 thing? So 3 million is the audience. Had I put out ads, I would have never been able to market to 3 million people, but 3 million people is the audience. You'd be surprised to know that less than 200 bought into the $7 thing. So social media has, on multiple accounts, it's brought me a handful, maybe less than that, of clients. Very few people do I convert off of social media, and that might just be me and the way I'm doing social media. Could just be me. And very rarely does it even do like the passive selling of other random things that I have and courses and things that I have, or resources that I give away. So I find it to be ineffective. But that's just me. There's other people who find it to be their biggest source of income. And so that's what they're doing multiple times a day, recording and staying on trend and keeping up and making sure that they're getting out the content because people are buying into it. You don't have to manage a large social media platform or account. You don't have to look at the likes and the views. A lot of people who don't like your content, like by actually tapping a button to like it, or don't comment on it or like interact with it, a lot of those people will still do business with you. You'd be surprised who's watching you, who you don't know. There's lots of times people reach out or get on my calendar or talk to me and they're like, I've never commented on any of your stuff. I just watch your videos and I love it. Or I just, whatever. They follow you and they're just the quiet observers. That's me online all the time. I'm in the comments of everything. Like, I read all of the comments and I very rarely, if ever, leave one. Okay. So it doesn't have to be about how many followers you have, it's how engaged they are. You don't have to have a ridiculous, $10,000 website. Put together a site that's already like some prefabricated whatever. You just need to have a website for sure. Okay. Doesn't have to be intricate. You don't have to take another course. It's not going to do anything for you, especially if it's another introductory course. If you're going to pick a course, make sure it's a comprehensive course and not an introductory course. There's a difference. There's a video for that. Okay. I'll put that in the video description or in the comments. I'll link all of these things that I keep referencing. But you don't have to invest in another course. You don't have to really invest in a mentorship. You just have to make sure that you're doing all of the right things. Okay. Set up a simple website that has all the information that it needs. Where are you located? Where do you practice? Who do you serve? What are your best resources for them? It doesn't have to be your own curated resources, although that's best. But if you're not a writer or you're not a reader, like just what's your favorite podcast episodes that you really felt like they described myofunctional therapy the best? What are your favorite YouTube videos? What are your favorite articles? What's your favorite bit of research? Put that all together. Your favorite books, like put that all together on a landing page or on your website, resources. That way people can filter through. Some people love listening to podcasts and they will just fall into the rabbit hole and listen to all the podcasts, but they will never ever click to read an article because they don't want to. Okay. I'm more likely to read an article than to listen to a podcast. So, you got to have something different for everybody. That way they can get the information in a multitude of ways. Okay. You have to have a Google My Business page. If you do not have a Google My Business page, you are not worth your weight in gold. I love a good directory, and being listed on a directory is nice, but directories are exclusive in nature in that you have to pay to be on a directory. Anybody can pay to be on a directory. That does not mean that your business or your quality of work is what it's supposed to be. What's more public and easier to access is a Google search. If you show up on Google, you're going to show up in AI searches and whatever for local businesses that do whatever. And there's going to be reviews. And those reviews can be read by AI. Those reviews can be read by anybody who's out there. Some of these directories don't allow reviews or don't have the capability to have written reviews. They just have a bunch of people listed. Why would you not put yourself out there on Google My Business? Maybe because you're not confident in what you can do. Maybe because you don't want to serve a bigger audience. If that's you, fine, don't have a Google My Business page. But every therapist worth their weight in gold is absolutely worth a Google search, a Google appearance in their local area. Okay. Establish some form of an online presence. Pick a social media channel and one that you can commit to, one that works to your strengths. I love writing. And so writing's my big thing. Pinterest worked really well for me in like generating patients and people to my content. And Pinterest is really good if you have a blog. And so blogging, that was my online presence. That's brought me much more success than anything I've ever posted on social media. And yes, I have gone viral. And like I told you, it wasn't all that it was cracked up to be. It didn't bring me hundreds of thousands or whatever. I didn't start getting paid off of Instagram because I had this viral thing. That's not the way that works. Don't expect that to be like some payday. Okay. You are looking to find your people. My people, they read. My other people, they also watch YouTube. Y'all, my people. And let's invest in some software that's going to keep track of everything. If you're definitely going to need to account. And if you're going to account, you might want a QuickBooks or a Xero, Xero, or a Wave accounting. You might want to work with one of those types of things. I never, ever, ever recommend investing in an electronic health record system. I think it is foolish to go and start spending $50, $60, $70, $80 a month. There's nothing I spend $80 a month on, literally zero things. When I hear that other people are spending that on practice software, like, are you crazy? There's so many places that you can do for free. Charm, EHR, it's totally free until you build up the clientele that they need to start charging you for. So Charm EHR is free. Doxy.me is free. You could see people online there for free. Like, what are you investing in? Amazon is strategically frugal, strategically frugal. Jeff Bezos didn't become rich because he was just spending money all willy-nilly. He still to this day does not. He gets top talent for less than $170,000 a year. It's foolish, absolute foolishness, how you can build a business strategically by being smart with money. So invest in software, but don't go investing in areas that you don't need to. You have to do accounting. You need a payment processor. Like, do it smartly though. Your payment processor could be your bank. There are plenty of banks that allow you to do invoicing, or you could just do Zelle. You will only take Zelle payments. Now you've completely gone around the whole credit card billing thing. Like, you don't have to deal with any of that. It just be smart. Be smart. All right, y'all. I don't want to take up too much more of your time. And because this didn't run live, I'm sorry I didn't get to answer your questions live. However, if you do have any questions, leave them in the chat. As always, it's a pleasure being here with you. You are exceptional for showing up and for following through. Do the work. You're going to get the outcomes. I love you all. Till next time, my Myo best friends. Bye.